next, what we have up for all of you is we're going to show you a video with some greetings from some pro-life parliamentarians. We're really grateful that there are still politicians in this very hostile political environment, as many of you will know. Talking about abortion in the political context should not take any level of bravery and courage, but in today's day and age, in this particular political climate, it does actually take courage to speak out in defense of the most defenseless. So next up for all of you, we have a video with some greetings from some of the members of Parliament who all wanted to share a message with you. They knew this march was happening and they wanted to show you just that they were with you, that they also stand with you in solidarity, and that they definitely wanted to show encouragement to all of those who are on the front lines while they are attempting to advocate as best they can in the halls of power.
Hi everyone, I'm Cathay Wagantall, Member of Parliament from Yorkton Malville, and it's an honor for me to be here, invited to be part of this with the Toronto pro-life movement. Thank you for this opportunity to lift my voice for the preborn. We know that each one of them is uniquely created from the moment of conception and is invested with the soul and needs us to stand in the gap and speak for them. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Arnold Viersen and I'm the Member of Parliament for Peace River Westlock. These days with the COVID, there's lots of talk about modeling and flattening the curve. When it comes to abortion, we don't need a model. We know that 300 babies are aborted every day in Canada. So I ask you, who will speak for the preborn? Well, you will, and I will, because if we can social distance and sacrifice the economy for vulnerable Canadians, we can also raise our voice on behalf of the most vulnerable Canadians, preborn Canadians. We are making a difference. We are winning the argument, and there are more pro-life MPs than before. If we work together, we will get protection for the preborn. Thank you all, God bless you all, and God keep our land glorious and free.
Hello, Toronto March for Life. It's Rosemary Falk, Saskatchewan Member of Parliament for Battleford-Lloydminster. Thank you to each of you for your commitment to standing up for the sanctity of life. I hope today that you are encouraged to continue to stand firm in your convictions. Collectively, we have a responsibility to stand up to injustice and to speak up for the voiceless. Because from conception to natural death, and every minute in between, life has value. Together we can shift culture and change the narrative. Thank you, and God bless.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining for this virtual March for Life. The times are different, now we're doing everything virtually. You know, Parliament is a guarantor of our rights. Parliament and politicians can't create new rights, they can only guarantee them. And they have been doing this for over 800 years. The rights that we all enjoy. You know, it was this Canadian Parliament that nearly a century ago now, and in a court case later, decided that women in fact were persons and our Constitution applied equally to all. And that was a great victory for equality. Over the past 200 years, we saw the British Imperial Parliament decide that slavery was cruel, depraved, and wrong. And then they spent the better part of the 19th century stomping it out across the entire British Empire, a victory for equality. And today you have politicians debating the great issues of the day and deciding, what does life mean? When does it begin? And how should it be best protected? And that's why it's important to speak up, have your voice heard. And as politicians who are pro-life, continue to do it on your behalf.
Well, it's always very encouraging to see politicians stand up for life. And the next conversation I want to introduce for you has just that. Cathay Wagantall has represented the riding of Yorkton Melville, Saskatchewan since 2015. In 2016, she sponsored Bill C-225, Cassie and Molly's Law, which would have created a new offense for injuring or causing the death of a preborn child while committing a criminal offense against a preborn child, which ultimately was defeated on second reading. In 2020, she introduced Bill C-233, the Sex Selective Abortion Act. Cathay is also the Deputy Shadow Minister for Veterans Affairs and Chair for the National Prayer Breakfast. And to have a conversation with her, I'd like to welcome Mike Schouten, who has been the director of WeNeedALaw since its launch in 2012. In 2018, he also became the director of advocacy for ARPA Canada, which oversees the WeNeedALaw campaign. Mike has had a lifelong interest in politics and legislation for the protection of human life. He has written and spoken across Canada about the need for legislation protecting a preborn child's right to life, and his ultimate goal is the recognition and protection of all preborn children.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for that. And a huge thank you to you, Kathy, for joining us at this virtual live stream of the Toronto March for Life event. Yeah, it's just super exciting that everybody who's on the call has an opportunity to hear from a pro-life member of parliament. Now, you and I and the WeNeedALaw campaign have had a relationship for quite some time. As Jonathan just touched on, Cassie and Molly's Law, we had an opportunity to work with you back in 2015 and into 2016. And now you have another opportunity to put forward a private member's bill. So I'm excited to just give you the opportunity to share with our viewers what it is you're introducing, why you feel it's important, and what people can do to really help support this effort, this latest effort that you put a lot of thought into. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and allow you to share with our viewers, with our listeners, what it is you're up to right now.
Thanks so much, Mike. It's a real privilege to be here at the Toronto March for Life virtually, and to be with so many that I know that are on this call that value life from conception to natural death. So it's a real privilege for me as a member of Parliament to be able to present another private member's bill. And in determining what it should be, a number of factors came into play. First of all, you know, as Canadians, we value human rights, and we value equality between men and women and boys and girls. And right now we have a prime minister that feels that he is the ultimate example of a feminist, and that is huge priority to him. And of course, to Canadians, it is here at home and on the international stage. So this particular bill I'm doing, the Sex Selective Abortion Act, you know, basically puts him in a position where he needs to respond. Does he truly value equality? And in this case, from the earliest stages of life. So I'm looking forward to presenting it in the House of Commons for that purpose. And also with Cassie and Molly's Law, I learned that it's true. We know the majority of Canadians do want access to abortion. But as I would speak to them and tell them that there are no laws in Canada, they were shocked. As you guys know, this is the fact. The majority of Canadians don't know. And when I say, well, what about sex selective abortion, late term, partial, birth, you know, and they're appalled at the thought of that. And so that gave me hope to present this as well. And then as I was tabling it, there was a DART and Maru Blue poll that came out. The National Post put it in their paper and wrote an article indicating that Canadians are not as divided on this issue as they had thought that the media likes to make us think we are, and that politicians do as well. And they asked very straightforward questions. Do you believe this particular thing should be legal or illegal? And when it came to sex selective abortion, 84% responded that they do not agree with this and it should not be allowed. So in that way, I'm responding to Canadians. We aren't trying to force Canadians to think a certain way. This is responding to a sense within our whole country that this is something that we should be making illegal across our nation. So as I have this opportunity, the law itself would basically make it an offense for a physician, a medical practitioner, to knowingly perform an abortion where the sole purpose is to determine the sex of the child. So that would make sex selective abortion in Canada illegal. It's just that simple. It also would include a directive to the federal government to work with the provinces to come up with the way that this information should be disseminated from medical practitioners to the general public in dealing with this abortion issue. In other words, I'm calling on the government to take responsibility for that determination, not the way that they have left things wide open for the provinces to deal with the MAID issue, for example. So it includes a directive to them as well. And of course, there are penalties for a physician who knowingly does this. Yeah, I had the opportunity to attend a gender and women's class. And, you know, that room is full of people who have a fairly strong feminist view. And it was phenomenal. They wanted to talk about my bill. And they were appalled to learn that this was the case in Canada. And it is. You know, people think it's not happening here, but the Canadian Medical Association has indicated it is a growing problem in Canada.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think that what I really appreciate about you, but also what I want people that are on this online live stream event to understand that you're a pro-life politician who is principled. You believe that abortion is injustice, but you're also willing to work incrementally. You showed that when you introduced Cassie and Molly's law, and you're showing that now, trying to find common ground amongst all Canadians. And that poll that you referenced certainly indicates that it doesn't matter so much if you're pro-life or pro-choice. This is an issue that all Canadians ought to be concerned about. And then the added benefit or advantage of trying to ensure that Justin Trudeau also is aware of an opportunity to ensure some equality here, because abortion is being used specifically to target women when it comes to sex selective abortion. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope all Canadians can get behind this, including the 338 members of Parliament in the House of Commons. So in the meantime, though, Kathy, we're in this situation where things are completely abnormal. What type of things would you be looking for to Canadians to help build support for this and awareness about your private member's bill?
Sure. Yeah, it is a unique dynamic that we're in right now. But on my website, I have a page dedicated to this C233. So at kathywagantall.ca, the bill is there, a lot of talking points, articles that have been written, information about why it needs to go forward. And so it's an opportunity for people to become familiar with it, and then reach out to your member of parliament. If you have a pro-life member, encourage them. If you don't, make it clear to them that science shows that this needs to be done. And it's actually, we already have laws in Canada around this. Embryos, when there is an in vitro fertilization, you are not allowed to choose the embryo based on the genetic sex that is determinable at conception. So there's all kinds of information there. There's also a poll. Now, I've pulled back from doing that because of social distancing, physical distancing concerns. But depending on how your province is opening up and the people that you're able to communicate with, I would encourage you, as it's safe to do, even if you only have 5 names, 10 names on a page, please send it in to me, because we are now to the place where we can be presenting petitions again. And by tabling this now, I've been able to have a greater amount of time available to me to present this to our House, and you will be really, with Cassie and Molly's law, you are the force behind it in talking to your friends, and be encouraged that this is something that 84% of Canadians agree on. We have an opportunity to do something that unifies our country on this topic.
Okay, well, that's super good to hear that things are getting back to a little bit of a sense of normalcy, that you can introduce petitions. So you heard it, people. One of the greatest ways that you can help Cathay Wagantall in building support for her bill, her private member's bill, to ban or prohibit sex selective abortion, is to get those petitions. So as you can, yeah, please be encouraged to do that at this time. Cathay, maybe, I'm not sure how much time we have left. I'm just going to keep talking to you until our host, Jonathan Marin, tells us we can't talk anymore. But what is some of the responses that you've received from Canadians, but also from some of your colleagues and so on? What kind of optimism can you convey to us that this bill really can gain some traction?
Sure. Yeah. In general, in the public, I've reached out within my own sphere of individuals that I've built a relationship with around this. And like I mentioned, this class that I attended, I'd really look forward to doing more of those in Ottawa and different places as well. The conversation is there to have, and people were very encouraged to know that this was something that we could create a law around. And as I mentioned, even women who are extremely feminist in their perspectives, and I asked them to define that for me because I think I am as well, but it's your definition. We have that opportunity. And in our caucus, I can assure you there are very many within our party now that are pro-life members of parliament. There are those who aren't, and we have that broad tent. So I encourage you to reach out to your members of parliament. One of the things that's important is to not let that message be out there that somehow this is going to criminalize doctors. It doesn't. It actually gives them an opportunity to be able to say something they want to say when they have a sense that the only reason this abortion is going forward is because of a preference for a girl in the majority of cases. But let's not fool ourselves. You know, there's this thing called the designer family, and little boys it can impact as well. So it's worth reaching out to everyone you know. And I assure you, I'm very encouraged. We have a wonderful group of strong pro-life members of parliament on the Hill.
Okay. Well, God willing, at some point in the future, we'll see this being debated in the House of Commons, and all Canadians will be able to have their say. And we're really, really thankful, Cathy, that you were able to join us, and we're going to conclude our time together. I see Jonathan popping up on the screen again, but be encouraged that there are hundreds of thousands of Canadians supporting pro-life politicians like yourself. And more and more, like you said, are joining you in Ottawa all the time. So yeah, the future is looking a little brighter for preborn children because God has put people like you in those positions. So thank you so much.
You guys as well. Awesome. Take care.